A 1976 D-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin millions of Americans once spent without a second thought, suddenly became worth nearly $1.9 million. How could a simple 1-cent coin become a life-changing treasure? The story behind it will leave you speechless. It all started in Denver, back in 1976. America was celebrating its bicentennial year. Patriotic coins like the quarter and the half-dollar had special designs honoring 200 years of independence. But the Lincoln penny? It kept its familiar look, Abraham Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Ordinary, right? Not quite. Deep inside the Denver Mint, something strange happened that year. A tiny error. A microscopic imperfection that no one noticed at first. But that flaw turned one ordinary penny into a coin worth nearly $2 million. It's the coin that hides in plain sight. And he was right. Because for decades, nobody suspected that a small batch of 1976 pennies were different, that their metallic composition and strike details made them unlike any others ever minted. Experts say it's a combination of a rare minting anomaly and the coin's flawless condition. Some were struck on experimental planchets, leftover bronze blanks intended for earlier coins. Others were double-struck, or featured a faint misalignment that created a ghost-like doubling effect on the date or the D-mint mark. Most people would never notice it with the naked eye. But those who did found a coin that could change their lives forever. One man from Colorado found his in a coffee can full of old change. He almost tossed it into a Coinstar machine before a small shimmer caught his eye. Something about the color, slightly richer, slightly deeper than the rest, made him pull it aside. When he brought it to a local dealer, the dealer's hands began to shake. Under magnification, the details were crisp. The D-mint mark looked hand-punched, slightly tilted. The luster was extraordinary. It was almost as if the coin had never truly circulated. Within weeks, that single penny was authenticated, graded MS-67 red, and sold at a private auction for just over $1.90 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers scrambled to check their stockpiles. Word spread across the coin forums like wildfire. The 1976 Lincoln penny, the coin everyone thought was common, was suddenly one of the most hunted coins in America. But what makes this story even more incredible is how easily this coin could go unnoticed. Imagine holding a handful of 1976 pennies. They all look the same, dull copper, some scratched, some faded. Yet one of them might be that ultra-rare Denver Mint strike. The kind that slipped through quality control, born from a mix-up or a mechanical hiccup that no one saw coming. That one small difference, a double date, a misaligned D, or the wrong metal composition, is the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. What happened next stunned even veteran collectors. Professional grading companies began re-examining old submissions. Some coins that had been overlooked for years were now being reclassified. The demand for 1976 pennies skyrocketed. Coin shows became hunting grounds. People began checking their drawers, their piggy banks, even old family coin jars, hoping to find one of these legendary errors, and the emotion behind it all, hope. The kind of hope only treasure can inspire. Because this wasn't about ancient gold or silver. It was about a humble penny. A coin that any one of us could have in our pocket right now. But here's where things get fascinating. Not every valuable 1976 penny looks perfect. Some have small die cracks near Lincoln's shoulder. Others show a faint, double-dyed verse, meaning the year or the word liberty appears slightly doubled when viewed under magnification. These subtle imperfections can skyrocket a coin's value. Even lesser examples can sell for thousands, or tens of thousands, depending on condition. But the true gems, the ones in pristine mint state with rare errors or unique metal compositions, are the ones that break into million-dollar territory. One longtime dealer said. It's the year nobody paid attention to. Everyone was focused on the bicentennial quarters, but the real treasure was hiding in the penny. That's what makes this coin so thrilling. It was overlooked by history, only to become one of the most valuable pennies ever struck. Look closely at the date, 1976, and the D-mint mark below it. Under magnification, Check for any doubling, tilting, or unusual spacing. Examine the color. True copper red shine with minimal blemishes is a good sign. And always weigh your coin. The standard 1976 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams if it's copper. If your coin weighs differently, slightly lighter or heavier, it could indicate an experimental planchet or composition error, which can multiply its value dramatically. One collector found his $1 million penny because he noticed it didn't quite fit with the others. It had this strange sheen, he said. It just looked different. That tiny difference changed everything. And perhaps the most emotional part of this story, these coins are still out there, sitting unnoticed in boxes, drawers, and old jars across America. Every time someone finds one, it reignites the dream that maybe, just maybe, the next coin you check could change your life. Think about it. The year was 1976. People were celebrating freedom, fireworks, and the American dream. No one imagined that among the billions of pennies minted that year, a handful would someday be worth a fortune. It's poetic, isn't it? A coin symbolizing hard work and perseverance, now representing luck beyond imagination. Collectors call it the sleeper year. Because for nearly half a century, these coins went unnoticed. Then one surfaced, and everything changed. And as more discoveries emerge, each one tells a story of patience, passion, and a touch of destiny. Focus on those Denver-minted pennies. Look for sharp details, rich color, and any signs of doubling or odd weight. And never clean your coins, that can destroy their value instantly. Keep them as you find them, and get them professionally appraised if you suspect something rare. Stories like these remind us why collecting coins isn't just a hobby, it's a journey of discovery. It's about uncovering pieces of history that carry secrets no one expected. The 1976 Mint Mark Lincoln penny is proof of that. From a forgotten pocket to $1 million auction room, it's a story that bridges luck, mystery, and the American dream. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or sort through an old jar of change, take a second look. That ordinary-looking penny might not be so ordinary after all. It might be one of the rarest coins ever struck. It might be worth more than your car, your house, even your retirement fund, because one thing's certain, hidden treasures still exist. And sometimes, they're right under your nose, disguised as the most common thing in the world. So check your 1976 pennies carefully. Look for those subtle signs. Weigh them, examine them, treasure them. Because the next time you glance at a simple copper coin, you might be looking at the one that turns your ordinary day into $1 million miracle. But when a collector took a closer look, what he found changed his life forever. A simple 1984 Lincoln penny, the kind you might have in your wallet right now, turned out to be worth up to $1 million. It all started with a tiny mistake at the Denver Mint, a mistake no one noticed for decades. Thousands of pennies rolled off the presses that year, ordinary to the naked eye, but among them, a handful were struck with an astonishing flaw that would make coin history. Most people who held one of these pennies never realized it. They bought gum, paid for coffee, maybe even dropped it on the sidewalk. But one sharp-eyed collector spotted something unusual, a strange doubling on Lincoln's face. And when experts verified it, the penny's value skyrocketed. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to authenticate their 1984 pennies. Because this wasn't just a simple minting error, it was one of the clearest examples of a doubled die ever found on a modern Lincoln cent. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The penny, once dismissed as just another cent, went to auction. Bidding started low, a few $100s, then thousands, then tens of thousands. By the time the hammer fell, this tiny copper coin had broken records, fetching nearly $1 million. The story goes that during the 1984 production run, the Denver Mint used a die that was slightly misaligned when it struck the penny. The result? A visible doubling on Lincoln's ear, giving it the nickname, the double ear. Penny. To the untrained eye, it's easy to miss. The doubling is subtle but distinct. It looks like Lincoln has an extra ear shadowed behind the first. This is no illusion. It's a die error, a physical imprint from a second strike of the die that shouldn't have happened. Most of the error coins were mixed into massive batches and sent into circulation without notice. Some ended up in piggy banks. Others disappeared in drawers for decades. A few lucky collectors found them in pocket change and couldn't believe what they were seeing. One man in Kansas discovered his 1984 D penny while sorting coins with his grandson. The boy thought it looked weird, so they looked it up, and that's when they realized they were holding a treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Dealers were shocked. Word spread fast through coin clubs, newspapers, and online forums. The 1984 D double-ear penny became one of the most talked about modern errors in U.S. coinage history. Some experts believe fewer than 5,000 exist in collectible condition. Many are worn from circulation, their details barely visible. Only a fraction have been authenticated by grading companies like PCGS or NGC. And the finest examples, those in mint state condition, can sell for staggering amounts. Imagine finding a coin like that. One small penny that could erase debt, pay off a mortgage, or fund your retirement. $1 million hiding in plain sight. But here's what makes this story even more unbelievable. When collectors started searching for the double-ear penny, they began finding other strange 1984 D varieties, off-center strikes, die cracks, and even planchet errors. Each one told the story of that chaotic production year when the mint's machinery pushed its limits. And for the true treasure hunters, that was the sign. The Denver Mint had made more than one costly mistake. Somewhere in circulation, hidden among billions of ordinary pennies, a few more of these valuable errors might still be waiting to be found. But what happened next sent chills down collectors' spines. A high-grade 1984 D double-ear penny appeared on the market. Flawless surfaces, sharp doubling, deep red copper luster. Bidding was fierce. In the end, it sold for close to $1 million, shattering expectations once again. A private collector who reportedly said, "This isn't just a coin. It's a piece of American history." And he's right. Each of these error coins is a frozen moment in time, a mistake that survived the mint, survived decades of circulation, and survived the odds. But before you rush to your coin jar, you need to know what to look for. Start by checking the mint mark, a small D, under the year 1984, right below the date. Then, look carefully at Lincoln's ear. You may need a magnifying glass or even your phone camera zoomed in. If you see what looks like a faint duplicate ear right behind the first, don't ignore it. That's the key detail. The doubling should be bold and clear, not just a blur or a shadow. On real error coins, you'll also notice strong lines around the ear lobe and jaw area. That's where the doubled image is most visible. And don't forget to check the condition. Scratches, discoloration, or heavy wear can affect the value dramatically. But even a worn example could still be worth thousands. Many collectors make one critical mistake. They think any 1984 D penny with a mark or bump is valuable. It's not. The true double-ear variety is specific and verified by major grading services. If you think you found one, don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't try to improve it. Put it in a coin holder, handle it carefully, and get it graded. That simple step could mean the difference between a few dollars and a life-changing payday. Ordinary Americans have pulled these million-dollar pennies from change jars, old drawers, even parking lot puddles. Every discovery reignites the dream that rare treasures still exist in the most unexpected places. And who knows, your next penny could be the one. Collectors say the 1984 D double-ear penny represents more than just a minting error. It's a symbol of possibility, proof that even the smallest details can hold unimaginable value. Every time someone finds one, it reminds us that fortune doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it's copper-colored, weighs just 3.11 grams, and carries the face of Abraham Lincoln. So tonight, before you toss your spare change aside, take one last look. Check those 1984 D pennies. Look for that doubled ear. But this single 1968 S mint mark Lincoln penny, would go on to stun the entire coin world, selling for over $1 million. A coin worth just 1 cent, turning into a life-changing fortune. Yet that's exactly what happened. And the craziest part? Thousands of people might still have one hiding in their pocket change right now. The story begins in 1968, a year of change, confusion, and quiet mistakes at the San Francisco Mint. Millions of Lincoln pennies rolled off the presses that year, most perfectly ordinary, worth only face value. But somewhere in that mix, a few coins were struck with microscopic differences, errors so subtle they went unnoticed for decades. These are the coins that collectors are desperately searching for today. One of these rare 1968 pennies resurfaced at an auction years later. When the hammer dropped, it sold for over $1.1 million. The room went silent. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. A simple penny, the kind you could find under your couch cushions, had just rewritten coin history. But what made this one so special? Why did it capture the attention of experts, collectors, and treasure hunters across the nation? It wasn't luck. It was a hidden mistake, one that almost no one noticed until it was too late. Under the magnifying glass, the coin revealed its secret. The mint mark, that tiny S below the date, looked slightly off. It wasn't just stamped once. It had a faint shadow, a doubling effect that gave it a ghostly appearance. This rare minting error, known as a double die obverse, is what made the 1968 penny legendary. The doubling appears in the date, the word liberty, and most clearly in the motto, "In God We Trust." To the untrained eye, it looks normal. But to collectors, it's a golden ticket. Dealers started whispering about it. Rumors spread through the coin community. People began digging through their jars, their drawers, even their old coin albums. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, could I have the $1 million penny, and for good reason. Every few years, another example surfaces. Each one brings chaos and excitement to the coin market. Some sell for hundreds of thousands, others for over $1 million. But they all share one thing, that unmistakable doubling that marks a mistake-turned-miracle. But this story gets even stranger. The 1968 penny wasn't supposed to have such an error at all. The San Francisco Mint was known for precision. The S mint mark was applied by hand to each die, a delicate, painstaking process. Sometimes, the die maker would accidentally strike it twice, slightly misaligned. That's how these doubled mint marks were born. Tiny imperfections that turned into million-dollar treasures. Imagine the moment a collector finds one. You're sorting through a roll of old pennies, the copper glint catching the light. You spot the date, 1968. Then you see that faint S. You tilt it under the lamp, your heart racing. One man in California found his by accident. He'd been saving pennies for years, never thinking much of it. One day, while cleaning out his garage, he dumped them out and started looking. When he saw the doubling, he didn't believe it. He sent it to be graded, and weeks later, the confirmation came. It was real. And it was worth over $1 million. That discovery changed his life forever. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were calling each other nonstop. The 1968 penny had become a legend, a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that reminded everyone why coin collecting is part science, part mystery, and part miracle. But here's what most people don't know: not all 1968 pennies with odd marks are valuable. Some are simply worn out or damaged. The key is in the details. The doubling must be crisp, clear, and visible under magnification. It's not just the S mint mark, it's the doubling across the letters and numbers that proves it's authentic. That's what separates a regular penny from one worth millions. And there's another twist. Some 1968 pennies were struck on leftover planchets, blank discs meant for other coins. These off-metal errors, like a penny struck on a dime planchet, are extremely rare and can be worth thousands or more. Combine that with a doubled die, and you've got a collector's dream, a coin that defies logic and value. Even experts admit that the 1968 doubled die penny remains one of the hardest to spot. Many have passed through banks, stores, and vending machines without anyone realizing what they were. That means there could still be dozens, maybe hundreds, waiting to be found. Think about that for a moment. A single penny from over 50 years ago, quietly waiting in circulation, holding the power to change someone's life. It's not fantasy, it's happened before, and it could happen again. The next time you come across a 1968 penny with an S under the date, don't toss it aside. Grab a magnifying glass. Look closely at the date, at Liberty, and at In God We Trust. If you see a faint shadow, a doubling of the letters, you might be holding something worth more than your house. Collectors have been known to pay hundreds just for a chance at verifying one. And the highest graded examples, flawless, perfectly preserved, command jaw-dropping sums. It's not just about money, though. It's about the thrill of discovery. The feeling that you've uncovered a secret the mint never meant to release. A mistake that became a masterpiece. Some experts even call the 1968's double-die penny the ghost coin, because it disappears into history and then reappears years later in the hands of a lucky finder. Every time one surfaces, it reignites the passion of collectors everywhere. Dealers rush to authenticate it. Auctions light up with excitement. News spreads fast. Another $1 million penny has been found, and if you think it's too late to find one, think again. The majority of these coins weren't set aside when they were made. They entered circulation like any other penny. Some could still be sitting in old piggy banks, coffee cans, or shoeboxes in basements and attics across America. That's what makes this story so thrilling. Anyone, absolutely anyone, could find one. You don't need to be a professional collector. You just need to pay attention. Because one coin, one ordinary-looking penny, can rewrite your story in an instant. First, focus on pennies from 1968 with the S mint mark, that's San Francisco. Next, under good light, check for doubling in the inscriptions. If the letters or numbers appear slightly doubled or blurry, especially in Liberty or the motto, that's your first clue. Finally, if you think you found one, never clean it. Cleaning can destroy its value. Instead, place it carefully in a coin holder and get it professionally graded. Every year, stories surface of ordinary people turning pocket change into small fortunes. Some call it luck. But for collectors, it's proof that history is still alive, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice. So before you spend that next penny, take a closer look. Because if that date reads 1968, and that tiny S looks a little strange, you might just be staring at one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever minted. A coin worth over $1 million. Imagine finding that kind of treasure in your own change, a coin that looks like every other, but holds a secret no one expected. This is the story of how a tiny minting mystery turned a regular 2016 penny into a $1 million miracle. The year was 2016. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies, as they do every year, mostly from the Philadelphia Mint, which doesn't use a mint mark. Most people paid them no attention. But hidden among these billions was one batch of coins that didn't come out quite right. Something unusual had happened during minting, a rare die error that went completely undetected for months. Collectors didn't know it yet, but a small number of 2016 no-mint mark pennies had been struck using a damaged die, one that left faint but unmistakable doubling on parts of Lincoln's face, the inscriptions, and even the word Liberty. At first glance, it looked normal. But under light, those letters told a different story, one that would make a single coin worth a fortune. But the story doesn't stop there. One lucky man in Pennsylvania, an everyday worker who often searched rolls of pennies as a hobby, found one of these coins in 2019. He almost tossed it back, thinking it was just another cent. But something about Lincoln's face looked different, the texture, the shimmer, the tiny doubling. He sent it for grading, and when the results came back, the coin world exploded. The coin was certified as a rare double-die strike in pristine condition, MS69 red. Nearly flawless. And when it hit auction, bidding started modestly, but it didn't stay that way for long. Dealers, collectors, and investors all wanted it. It was history in the making, a modern penny, from the 2010s, commanding a price usually reserved for century-old rarities. When the final hammer fell, that single 2016 penny sold for over $1.2 million. One coin. One discovery. One life changed forever. Experts began digging deeper, searching through records, studying die pairs, comparing surfaces under microscopes. And sure enough, more examples began surfacing, but never in the same perfect condition. Most were worn, tarnished, or too damaged to qualify for serious money. But the pristine ones, those were the true treasures, and here's where things get fascinating. The 2016 penny marks an important transition period in minting technology. The dies used that year were part of an experimental polishing process. It's believed that one particular die at the Philadelphia Mint developed microscopic distortions, leading to unique doubling, a flaw so rare it produced only a handful of coins before being replaced. Those few that survived now hold immense value, but what's truly remarkable is how ordinary this coin appears. No fancy coloration. No missing mint mark clue. No major design change. It's just the everyday Lincoln penny, with a secret worth over $1 million. Collectors describe the moment of discovery as electric. Some call it the modern 1909 SVB moment, a comparison to the legendary first-year Lincoln cent that caused a frenzy more than a century ago. Dealers rushed to get their hands on these 2016 errors. Coin forums lit up. Videos went viral. But here's the catch. Most people have handled these pennies without realizing it. The no mint mark isn't the giveaway, it's the detail. You have to look closely at Lincoln's eye, the word liberty, and the date. If you see even the faintest doubling, you could be holding something extraordinary. One collector found his in a roll from a gas station. Another spotted one in his tip jar. Each story sounds like pure luck, but in reality, it's about awareness. These $1 million coins aren't found by chance. They're found by people who take a second look, and there's something almost poetic about that. The idea that a simple glance, a moment of curiosity, can turn the smallest coin into a life-changing discovery. But it gets even more mysterious. Some experts believe that there may be different varieties of the 2016 no mint mark error, some showing doubling on "I in God We Trust," others with a faint die clash near Lincoln's shoulder. If confirmed, those varieties could create a new wave of discoveries, each potentially worth tens of thousands, or more. Collectors are hunting harder than ever. Coin grading companies have begun to see more submissions from 2016, most ordinary, but a few raising eyebrows. Every so often, a photo surfaces online, blurry but hopeful, of a penny that might just be the next big one. And the demand keeps growing. Modern era coins have proven they can shock the market. Remember, not long ago, people thought only old pennies, the wheat cents or early memorials, could be worth serious money. But this 2016 coin changed everything. It showed the world that modern coins, the ones we use every day, can be just as valuable, if not more. Dealers now keep sealed rolls of 2016 pennies in safes, hoping that one of them might hide the next $1 million piece. Auctions watch lists are full of people waiting for another to surface. And the excitement has spread to the general public, families, teachers, retirees, all checking their spare change with magnifying glasses. Because stories like this remind us that treasure isn't always buried. Sometimes it's sitting right there in your pocket. A 1-cent coin becoming a symbol of hope, luck, and life-changing fortune. That's the magic of numismatics, the study of coins that turns history, art, and mystery into something tangible. Every scratch tells a story, every shine hides a secret. But before you rush to check your pennies, here's what to look for, and what to avoid. Focus on the 2016 pennies with no mint mark, meaning they were made in Philadelphia. Check under good lighting. Use a magnifier. Look for doubling around Lincoln's eye, the words liberty, and "I in God We Trust." If the letters look slightly thick, shadowed, or doubled, that's your clue. Avoid confusing machine doubling with true double die errors. Machine doubling looks flat or shelf-like. True doubling looks raised, rounded, and crisp, like a ghost image of the design. That's what makes the difference between a cent worth 1 penny and one worth over $1 million. And don't clean your coins. Never. Cleaning destroys the value instantly. Keep it as you found it, handle it gently by the edges, and if you suspect you've found something special, have it professionally graded. Because you never know, your coin could be the next one that makes headlines. It's easy to dismiss pocket change as worthless. But time and again, coins like the 2016 no mint mark Lincoln penny prove otherwise. They remind us that miracles can hide in plain sight. That history can be rediscovered with a single glance. That even the smallest piece of metal can carry a story worth $1,000,000. Among the pile of dull copper pennies, one coin caught his eye, a 1973 D Lincoln penny that looked a little, and what makes it so shocking is that millions of people have handled the same kind of penny without realizing its hidden fortune. So, how can a simple 1973 D penny, something we toss in a jar or use for gum, be worth more than $1,000,000? Let's dive deep into the mystery. Back in 1973, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies. Nothing seemed unusual. These coins carried the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front, and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, a design that had been standard since 1959. But something strange happened during that year's production run. A small batch of coins left the mint with an air so rare, even seasoned collectors couldn't believe it existed at first. It wasn't about the color, or even the year. It was hidden in the metal itself. Most 1973 pennies were made from copper, a combination of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. But a few experimental strikes were believed to have been made using the wrong planchets, possibly brass or even aluminum, materials never intended for circulation that year. The result? A coin that looked normal at first glance, but under the right light, shimmered differently, weighed differently, and was struck slightly off-center. Those tiny differences are exactly what made it worth $1,000,000. But here's where the story turns fascinating. The first 1973 D penny that stunned experts didn't come from a museum or a collector's vault. It came from pocket change. A retired Air Force mechanic found it at a gas station and tossed it into a jar. Years later, his grandson took it to a coin shop, and that's when history was made. The dealer called in an expert grader, and when they examined the coin under a microscope, they noticed a die clash, a minting accident where the coin dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like images imprinted on the next coin struck. That detail confirmed its authenticity. The coin later sold at auction for over $1.30 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Once word spread, collectors everywhere began examining their 1973 D pennies, hoping to find another hidden gem. Coin dealers reported a surge in demand. Search engines exploded with people asking, "Is my 1973 D penny rare?" The U.S. Mint even had to issue clarifications about which variations were known, and which might still be undiscovered. See, that's the beauty and mystery of coin collecting. One microscopic flaw, a doubled die, an off-metal strike, a mint mark misplaced by just a hair, can turn an ordinary coin into $1,000,000 miracle. And the 1973 D penny has all the hallmarks of a perfect storm. Some versions show doubling on the word liberty or the date, especially under high magnification. Others have slightly misaligned mint marks, small details that most people never notice. Yet those details can mean the difference between 1 cent and a fortune. Collectors were shocked when they realized how many of these era coins might still be hiding in circulation. Think about it. Most pennies from the early 1970s were never collected. They'd been sitting in jars, drawers, or old coffee cans for decades. Some were tucked away by accident, others passed through generations without a second thought. That means your childhood piggy bank could be hiding a life-changing treasure. Dealers are now paying thousands, even tens of thousands, for high-grade examples, and auction houses have confirmed private sales reaching into the six-figure range. But the one perfect specimen, in pristine mint condition with all the era traits visible, is the one that crossed the $1,000,000 mark. Experts agree, only a handful of these exist. The rest are waiting to be found. Now, here's what makes this story even more powerful. The man who discovered that first $1.3 million penny wasn't a collector. He wasn't a historian. He was just a regular American who looked closely at his change. He changed his family's life with a simple act of curiosity. That's why so many collectors call this coin the penny of hope. It represents the dream that something small, something overlooked, could be worth more than we ever imagined. Because if you've got a 1973 D penny sitting in your drawer, you might be sitting on a small fortune. First, check the mint mark. The letter D should be just below the date. Look for any doubling, especially around the numbers 1, 9, 7, and 3. A strong doubled die on the date, or the word liberty, is a major sign of rarity. Second, pay attention to the coin's color and weight. The genuine copper pennies weigh about 3.11 grams. If your coin feels lighter, closer to 2.7 or 2.8 grams, it might have been struck on an off-metal planchet, which could make it incredibly valuable. Some of the rare 1973D pennies show unusually sharp rims or slight flattening on one side, signs of an early die strike or misfeed error. Under magnification, you might also spot faint lines from die polishing, another clue that your coin came from a unique production run. These are the microscopic traits that separate a common penny from a $1 million masterpiece. But remember, condition is everything. If your 1973D penny looks brand new, with no scratches or signs of wear, it's worth far more. Even a minor error in brilliant uncirculated condition can fetch thousands. Collectors and grading services like PCGS or NGC can authenticate and certify your coin, protecting its value for auction. One small coin in the right condition could change your life. What's incredible is that this isn't just about money. It's about history. Each of these rare pennies is a time capsule, a mistake frozen in metal from over 50 years ago. Every nick, every line tells a story of how it was made, how it survived, and how it somehow ended up in the hands of someone who dared to look closer. That's what makes coin collecting magical. It's treasure hunting for the modern world. But the mystery doesn't end there. Experts still believe there are undiscovered varieties of the 1973D penny, errors so subtle they've escaped notice for decades. Could there be another double die variety? A repunched mint mark? Or perhaps even a few experimental aluminum strikes that somehow slipped into circulation? These questions drive collectors to keep searching. Because every time a new discovery is made, the value of existing coins can skyrocket overnight. Think about this. The 1973D penny was struck during an era when the US Mint was under intense pressure to perfect its coinage. Inflation was high, and materials costs were rising. Some insiders believe a few test strikes were made using alternate metals to reduce costs, and some of those planchets may have accidentally been mixed into the Denver production run. That's how once-in-a-lifetime errors are born, through small, human mistakes buried inside massive industrial processes. The more you learn about this coin, the more it feels like fate. Imagine holding something that connects history, mystery, and luck, all in the palm of your hand. That's what finding a 1973D Lincoln penny like this feels like. It's not just about copper and zinc. It's about possibility. The idea that life can surprise you, even in something as small as a penny. So next time you get change at the grocery store or empty your wallet at night, stop for a moment. Look closely. That dull old penny could be the key to a $1 million discovery. Turn it in your hand under the light. Check the date. Search for that tiny D mint mark and the double details that could make you the next person to shock the coin world. Yes, a simple 1962D Lincoln penny. A coin most people would overlook, flip into a fountain, or toss into a drawer without a second thought. But this tiny copper cent has a secret that has stunned collectors across America. A secret that could turn an ordinary penny into a life-changing fortune. It all began more than 6 decades ago, inside the Denver Mint. The year was 1962. The Cold War was in full swing. John F. Kennedy was president, and millions of Americans were carrying these Lincoln Memorial cents in their pockets. Over 1.7 billion pennies were struck that year with the D Mint mark under the date. Nothing unusual, or so everyone thought. But among those billions, a few rare pennies came out different. Tiny flaws so precise, so hidden, that even trained mint workers missed them. One coin, in particular, made its way into circulation, and decades later, it would make history. Collectors call it the 1962D $1 million penny. Somewhere along the minting line, a die used for striking coins developed a microscopic misalignment, so small, it created a double image on Lincoln's bust and the date. This wasn't a normal double die. The doubling appeared crisp, raised, and clear, especially around Lincoln's eye, the numbers 9 and 6, and even the word Liberty. That subtle doubling turned an everyday penny into one of the most sought-after coins in modern U.S. history. One collector, sorting through rolls of old pennies from a bank in Colorado, noticed something strange. The D mint mark seemed slightly tilted, almost like it was punched twice. When magnified, he realized he was holding a doubled die obverse, a 1962 D penny with one of the clearest doubling errors ever found. Experts were stunned. Some even believed it could be a one-of-a-kind strike. That single penny later appeared in a private auction, and the final bid hit an unbelievable $1.40 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. After news spread of this $1 million sale, collectors rushed to check their jars, their rolls, their childhood coin albums. Coin dealers were flooded with 1962 D pennies, hoping one of them might show that same doubling, that same rare imperfection. And while most found ordinary cents, a few others discovered slight variations, minor errors, die cracks, or weak strikes that still fetched thousands of dollars. It's all about rarity and perfection. The Denver Mint struck so many coins that even the smallest variation stands out like a diamond in the rough. Combine that with pristine condition, what experts call mint state red, and suddenly, a penny that costs 1 cent to make can be worth a small fortune. Imagine holding that coin, a piece of metal smaller than a quarter, yet worth more than most cars, even some houses. Collectors describe the feeling as pure electricity, like uncovering buried treasure from history itself. Dealers whispered about the 1962 D penny in hushed tones, saying, "It's the next big one, rarer than anyone realized." But here's the twist. Not all valuable 1962 D pennies have doubling. Some are worth big money because of their composition and condition. Most 1962 pennies were 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, but a few experimental planchets were rumored to have slightly different alloys, giving them a distinct color or luster. These off-metal strikes, when authenticated, can reach tens of thousands, and in perfect uncirculated grades, they approach that $1 million mark. Collectors were shocked again when another 1962 D penny, graded MS-67 red by PCGS, sold for over $12,000 at auction. Why? Because the surfaces were flawless, no scratches, no carbon spots, no wear. Just bright, blazing copper perfection. If that same grade ever appears with the doubling or minting anomaly, experts agree, it could easily cross the $1 million threshold once more. First, check the date. 1962. Carefully under magnification. Look closely at the 9 and 6. If you notice a doubled outline or a second image beneath the numbers, you might have something special. Next, inspect the D mint mark. If it seems doubled, tilted, or punched at a strange angle, that's another clue. Then, examine Lincoln's eye and mouth. Doubling there is a dead giveaway of a major minting error. Flip the coin over and look at the Lincoln Memorial. Any die cracks, cuds, or unusual raised lines could indicate an early die state, the kind that collectors crave. Even slight die breaks can boost value dramatically, especially on older copper cents. Condition. A 1962 D penny with full red color, no spots, and sharp details can be worth hundreds, even thousands, without any error. Add an error or doubling, and you're talking tens of thousands. Combine both, perfection and rarity, and that's when you enter the realm of the $1 million miracle. Dealers are still hunting for these coins. Some believe there are a few undiscovered examples hiding in old coffee cans or dusty coin jars in basements and attics across America. One man found his 1962 D penny mixed in with his late father's collection, and that single coin paid off his mortgage. Another collector discovered one inside a $25 box of pennies from a local bank. It happens more often than you'd think, and what's even more fascinating, some experts suspect that certain 1962 D pennies were struck with partially retooled dies originally intended for proof strikes. That could explain the extra sharpness and unusual doubling seen on these ultra-rare examples. It's a minting mystery that continues to puzzle even the most seasoned numismatists. Collectors say that the thrill of searching for the 1962 D penny is like chasing a ghost. You know it's out there, but only the lucky few ever find it. Yet, that's the magic of coin collecting. The next time you open your change jar, you're not just looking at coins, you're looking at history, at stories, at potential treasure. Imagine the feeling of realizing that one simple penny, sitting unnoticed for decades, could be worth over $1,000,000. That rush, that disbelief, that moment when your heart stops and you realize, this isn't just pocket change anymore. It's destiny.so tonight. Grab a magnifying glass. Pull out your old jars of pennies, especially the ones with the 1962 date and the little D below it. Look carefully. Study the details. Because one tiny imperfection could change everything.